I'd say our third meeting on Wika, the domestic abuse violence reporting system. Today, what we needed to discuss is the project business plan. So this meeting is really about the project business planning. That's what it is. Generally, these meetings are 45 minutes, Jackie, like 15 minutes for small talk, and then the rest of the meeting is for, you can say, the serious business, half an hour. If we can keep it to that, it's good because we have to have them weekly. All right. So generally the agenda, but you can always suggest what you want to start with. But the agenda is to go through the document I said, which is the business plan, just so that we have a clarity of it. I'll explain its use because we're using it as a Bible, guides the process. Also, in some ways, it lends clarity to exactly what we're doing, but also clarity to how we're doing it. It has a timetabling component, but the timetable is not there. I'll put in the timetable so that it matches with what the donors are saying, and at the same time, what we can also produce, what we're saying we want to produce. So I'll produce the timetable next, and then we can have a meeting on that one. If I'll send the document ahead of time, and then we'll have a meeting on that. But on your end, Jackie, maybe you can tell me what would you like us to discuss also in the meeting, just from the top of your head. I don't hear you now. Are you there?
Sorry, I keep talking.
I can hear you, but your voice vanished.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I realize all the time I'm talking and my mic is off.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, what I'd like us to discuss is, you saw the email I sent you. They asked for deliverables and whatnot.
Yes.
I'm trying to access it and just read it.
Okay.
So that's and I was thinking,
yeah,
because you've shared your business plan. I've been, since I woke up, I've been doing some housework. I've been cleaning. So I just saw the first 3 pages, of the document.
All right.
So if the document is related to what was requested,
yes,
then we can just discuss both, because for me that's the more, I think, urgent one, because I've not responded to them. I didn't even say I received the message,
okay,
their email.
okay.
Yeah.
Are they celebrating Christmas in Morocco, or is it a holiday or anything?
No.
Okay.
Is Morocco is Muslim, so I don't think it's a big deal there.
Okay. Yeah. So for them, it's like this whole time as we're speaking, they're actually working.
Most likely, just like Dubai. I mean, they celebrate it just like the way Chinese celebrate it, but
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay.
it's not at you. People are still working.
Okay.
They won't break for Christmas.
I get you. Okay. Then that's all right. I kind of understand where they're coming from. Um, yeah. This will help to answer their question. The scheduling timetabling will now put it in a visual format, but this document already now speaks to the timetable. So it's going to give us a sense of what we're producing when, and it will even go further to explain exactly why and how we're going to go about it. So that's really what the meeting is about. So I'll share my screen so that I can get the document up. You let me know if you can see.
I can see.
Okay, that's good. Sorry. Yeah, just a small second. I'm trying to find the folder where I kept that file. Okay, I found it. All right. All right. So this is the business plan, and I just want to explain it in the grand scheme of things so that we can see how this is an active document. And this meeting is about going through this business plan, and of course, answering the question that you need answered for the email. So we're calling, I think a good name to call what we're doing is the Wika App Business um, Project. The Wika App Business Project. The reason is we're doing two things. We're building the app, but we're also developing the business. So we don't want to lose oversight of the business development. There's a reason for it. What you're receiving now is angel investment. It's a kind of investment, for example, your family would give you if they believed in your idea and they wanted you to get on with it. All right. Or if you're in countries like America where they really fund, these kind of things at family level. So you get this kind of cash, but it gets you going. It allows you to do what you can say are the preliminaries that investors don't want to do. They don't want to invest in these things. So angel money is what they're giving you, which is great. So it's come. Now, what we need to do if we're going to grow the business, because based on our talk in the past, is we're going to grow the business into something that's worthwhile, business wise. If we're going to grow it, then we have to move it from this round of investment to the next round of investment. The next round of investment is where they put in seed capital. Seed capital is the initial money that investors put in to get the business growing. Okay, so really the exercise of the next 6 months is to get to a point where we can now face investors, and these are seed capital investors. We have a idea, it's fleshed out, and now they are ready to invest. It's in a form that they can invest in the business, and obviously we are in a state of readiness to respond to them. So when they ask questions, we're able to answer. When they go, let's say, have expectations, they do their due diligence, we're able to react in ways that they expect. So that's the idea. I mean, the whole goal of what we're doing in as a Wika app business is to get from round one to round two. That's really what this is about. So if that clarity is there, then that's good. Because what I'm also not saying is that we are going to make a profit. We're not right now. Our goal is not to make a profit. That's one. Two, we're not going to, for example, um, make a good living or even a living out of what we're doing in this round. That's not the idea. The idea is to get to the next round. And then, of course, when we get there, then there'll be a projection. 6 months to 1 year is usually the time frame. So 6 months they've given us is okay. And when we get there, there'll be a 3 year time frame to get to the third round. But that's fine. That's great because then we can fit in a lot more things. So that's generally the goal of this one. Okay, so Chungunzima, there's some things that are needed legally. So Chungunzima Designs, what I've put here as the owner of the app, which is the Wika app or the Wika system. But the Wika app is the app, the product, and Chungunzima Designs is the business. See, and the way it's written anyway is that Chungunzima Designs business revolves around the Wika app. So that's why we're calling it the Wika app business. But it may not be the case, but that's how it's written. So we're looking at the ecosystem within which the Wika app does business within Chungunzima Designs. So that's the app business combination. Okay. By the way, you can stop me anytime so that if you feel maybe there's something I need to explain just in time or at the point I'm saying it, just feel free. It's not a formal thing. All right, so I'll explain the document.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm quiet because I'm writing down important notes.
Okay.
So don't worry about me. But I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
can you say that the app is a product of the business?
Say again, the app is a product of the.
Business
Yeah, the app is a product.
of the
Yes, correct.
the Wika app is a product of Chungunzima.
Yes, that's correct. What you've said is correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Go on.
All right. So now this is based on our previous meetings, this one, and of course our understanding of what we're doing. So this can change. I mean, it's just a question of trying to document something. So the mission, and you need these three things for the next round. So empowering survivors of sexual abuse and domestic violence by providing a secure, anonymous reporting app that connects them to resources and safeguards against threats or blackmail. Now, this I got from your mouth, actually, this one. And I've put in the things that you can argue are the core elements of the app. You see, for example, we're saying here it's empowering survivors, of course, against sexual abuse and domestic violence. It's providing a secure, anonymous reporting mechanism. So this reporting mechanism is a core thing. And then it connects them to resources. So this connecting to resources is the third element. And then it safeguards against threat or blackmail. So this safeguard or this safeguarding is a fourth element, right? So empowering, reporting, connecting, and safeguarding. Those are the four key elements of what we're doing. And remember, this is the minimum viable. Of course, it doesn't limit the app from doing other things later, but this is really what we're rolling out with. If we've missed out something, now is a good time, and then we can write it into this mission. So, what do you see in the future? That's the vision statement. A society where abuse is reported without fear, supported by robust systems, of course, that's this AI system, heightened awareness, and data driven policy reforms. I'm going to write here AI driven because of the nature of the code. Okay, so that really is the vision. We see a society where there's none of this bad stuff going on. Then the impact goal is a transformative reduction in fear-driven silence among abuse survivors through accessible reporting and support systems. Okay, so this is very clear as well. I mean, I got this also from you, and this is the idea that we want to reduce the fear of silence amongst victims. Now, one of the things that we have to be clear on is in round two, the kind of investors we're interesting. This may not be interesting to a for-profit investor. So we're going to target social impact investors. And we have to have that clarity because it will come up. Some people do for-profit business. Some people do social impact business. This one has great social impact utility. So I think it's better to target the social impact community of investors. And of course, if we start talking like this to them, especially the ones who are in the, in this area of freedom of speech rights and things like those, then there's a real audience of investors out there for this kind of thing. So in some ways, the language we're using is in line with the language they're willing to fund. So we're going for social impact investors. Now, why it matters, and that's why I put in this impact goal, is that we need to make sure that our goal is aligned with their interests. So this thing of transformative reduction of fear-driven silence is what we have to measure. So when we're talking and presenting in the next round, we're talking and presenting about how we've reduced fear. If we do that successfully, then they'll feel as if we have something that they can invest in. Okay? All right. So again, you can interrupt me anytime. All right. So we have these three objectives. I tried to whittle them down to three, so I don't have a full list. But the first one, I think, is the most important one, is this one. Enable victims to report abuse securely and confidently. Also important is provide resources for legal, emotional, and physical support. We've discussed these ones. And then the third one is to use anonymized data to inform impact policy changes and preventative measures. Now, this third one is important in part because it's how we impact on policy. Again, the investors, social impact investors, would like something that impacts on policy. We can talk to government, we can talk to communities, we can talk to these international bodies on how to impact their policy based on what we're producing. You see, and this is good because if it's based on data, it's based on research, and we can document it, we become very strong in our argument, especially because we have real, evidence that we're showing them to support what we're saying. So the anonymized data is where we want to be in play, and that argument is the argument we want to make to government, to you can say international community, and also to local communities on the ground. And then the outcomes is increased reporting cases of abuses, number one. Number two is the enhanced ability to support networks and education. So education, I think, is important, partly because this is where the problem is actually. The devil lives here, but anyway, we'll discuss. And then the data-driven insights shape societal and governmental responses to abuse. This is also very interesting to social impact investors, that we're influencing governmental responses, behavior, policy, and things like that. I think it's also important to us because, we have a government that's so confused. They don't know, they respond to the wrong things, and they're part of the problem when they do that. All right, then we have market analysis, social problem addressed. Underreporting of sexual abuse, that's the main problem we're trying to address. The underreporting of sexual abuse and domestic violence. And as you said, it's due to stigma, fear, and lack of secure, safe, private systems. And another gap that exists is resources for victims' support and policy making. These are two things. The victims don't get the required support, financial, advice, counseling, and then, of course, the policies don't support them or are not aligned to the interests of the victims. So the policies are either weak, or the transmission or the communication of these policies are ineffective. Whatever it is, we'll discover, but we need to unpack this one. Okay, then we have now the target stakeholders, and the stakeholders are many, but we start off with the end user of Wika. The end user of Wika are survivors of abuse. Those are the end users. The ones who don't survive are dead. That's how we look at it. If you survive, then you're a target of Wika. Then are all these individuals who can bring value, like NGOs, legal aid organizations, policymakers, and there are others like police. You could argue, maybe financiers. It might be well wishers. It might be alumni, or people who are not in this situation, but they are with people who have been in families or have friends who are in this situation. So there's a whole list of these in between people, but we have a place for them that we will provide. I'll show it to you. Then we have the advocacy groups focusing on gender-based violence. Now, these ones are the ones that are registered legally, the ones that are recognized by policy. Even governmental organizations come into this, or international ones, So they're also part of our stakeholders, and we need them to include or give them space within the app. Alignment with SDGs. Now, this is something that donors like, investors like. How are you aligned to the SDGs? Because they don't want to, first of all, go against the UN and the international community. So the strategic development goal number 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. It fits into that on the side of abuse and violence against women. And then this one, number 16, it promotes peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. These are the two I found, but if you find others, we can add them to this list. The idea is to align to these goals because that's really what investors would like to see, that we're doing that. Then you have social impact metrics. So these KPIs help us to know what we're measuring, and it helps us to collect the right data. So number one is the number of cases reported through the app. That's a metric that's important. Second metric that's important is this one, the percentage increase in victim assessing support resources. That's also important. We need to see an increase of the victim assessing report resources. And then the volume of anonymized data utilized in shaping policies. Okay, so that's important. In other words, this is the construction of meaning. This number three. We can get a lot of data, but it's useless. But if we get data that shapes policies, that's useful, or can shape policies. That's very good. And then number four is measurable community awareness, improvements through outreach campaigns. This we'll discuss more on, but there has to be on the ground at that touch point. We need to influence the behavior of the communities on the ground. So we'll discuss, but this is one of the items we'll be measuring, I think. We'll measure the awareness of the improvement. So how aware they are of how to report gender-based violence. And sometimes I think victims may not be the ones who are actually attacked. I realize it can be also people who are in the house when the victim is attacked. They become secondary victims of sorts. Maybe we'll capture that, but those are just some thoughts. So impact measurement tools then become, of course, surveys and feedback from users, data analytics from app usage. So the analytics is where AI implementation is helpful. And then, of course, the case studies showing real-life victims on victim lives. All right. Number two is having an AI-driven approach. So that aligns now with the goals of this round one funding. Then comes the organizational culture. So the current registration, the sole proprietorship, is registered under Chungunzima Designs. That's number one. Number two is proposed transition to upgrade to a limited liability company to ensure accountability, investor readiness, as well as ownership and tax flexibility. Now, I put these in as the reasons why the round two investors would want you to register Chungunzima as a limited liability company. You know, one is this accountability. Number two is, well, investor readiness is just all the good things they want to see. But this one on ownership, you know, is important because it gives them a chance to own the business. They'll want to invest in Chungunzima, or they want to invest in the project, but it has to be structured in a way that they can invest. When you have a limited liability company, that's a structure they can invest in. And then comes this one, tax flexibility. You know, social impact enterprise, let's say initiatives, have different tax brackets they fall under. There's a lot of relief they're given. So they don't pay the full tax that a for-profit business pays. So that kind of flexibility is interesting, but you have to be registered. And you may not want to register as a limited liability company. You might want to register as one of the social welfare groups or social welfare categories, so that you can benefit from the tax, waivers that they will give you because you're doing social enterprise work. That needs some homework, so we have to figure it out. Yeah, you can speak, Jackie. If you want to say something, feel free.
Yeah, so you're saying I register it as a social welfare something.
Yeah.
Chungunzima.
Yes. Because now it's a sole proprietorship, you need to upgrade it. If you upgrade it to this limited liability company, this is for profit. You know, it's a difference between .com and .org. You see what I mean? So I think I lost it, but you see, we want it to be in the .org category. Yeah. So that's why.
Okay, and what about the other things I do, like the branding and the what? It will still work under social welfare.
Well,
Or now, if I take
No, that will not. That will be now for profit. So if you still want to use Chungunzima for profit, then you have to start categorizing within Chungunzima that this brand is not for profit and this brand is for profit. But remember, when you invite, let's say, KRA into your house, it's like inviting Shetani into your house. If they enter a for-profit business, then they see, not for-profit business, and then they see for-profit activities, they start to behave badly. Actually, they start to now say, so you look like someone who's using a for-profit cover and not for-profit cover to do for-profit business that can benefit from tax waivers, and then they start making sweeping generalizations and they start moving like that in your house, which is never nice. So sometimes it's just easier when it's a clean cut that Chungunzima Designs is actually not for profit, and then there's another one that is for profit. Then it's a clean cut and it's good. It's easier for you to defend yourself than when they see both activities taking place under one. They'll now start that kind of talk, which confuses the ground game, and you now find yourself spending too much time with them. See, so you probably want to the best way is to have a clean cut and have one which is social welfare and one which is for profit. The one which is social welfare is the one you're going to invite investors to come in. By the way, when the investors come in, like in the 6 months, they'll kill the other business, especially if they are social impact. They'll tell you stop doing this one. So it's good to think about that because they'll actually want you to focus on the core area, which they'll consider to be what we're talking about and what they're investing in. You see, so if you want to carry on doing those things, it's good to start separating them now, I think. Yeah. Okay. So the team includes specialists in victim advocacy. So this is important, by the way, because we have to build a team, actually. By the time you go to round, we have to have a team. They won't consider us for funding if we don't have one. So the team should include specialists in victim advocacy, of course. It should include legal and wellness support. Now, how this will look, we have to design. Legal and wellness support. Wellness is healthcare and things like that, and therapy. Technologists are the tech people, the ICT, but beyond ICT is really app development, upgrades. How is the app going to grow? So these are the technologists. It also includes technical salespeople, people who know how to talk to the customer, the end user, and all these other stakeholders, on technical issues, using layman language. Those are technologists as well. Okay, so there's a sense of technical sales as well as what we call development operations. We'll discuss more. And then AI is used to make predictions about future occurrences. That's one use of AI. Another one is to identify patterns of user behavior. And another one is to recognize unusual patterns of data. And the last one is, this is the last one, such as fraud activity or just misuse. So these are things we've discussed. We have to document so that we know what we're starting with. Of course, we can expand on that. But this is now the focus area for this 6 months. All right, let's look at the finances now because that's key. So they're paying or they're donating. The grant is 22,000 US dollars. So I'm starting with that in dollars. I got their name as this one from that letter you sent. They call the Cherifen Des Forfaits Group, OCP Group Office. Okay, fair enough. The first grant is supposed to come on the 30th of November. This one they have not yet sent, but that's what they want to send, right? The 31st.
Yes.
The upfront. Okay. Then the second one is supposed to come 31st of January, and the last one on the 30th of March, on the 31st of March. Okay, fair enough. So these are the details. Now, for us, and this is starting to answer your question now. All the details of Ngozima here and the app on the left is what we've talked about. So I won't repeat it. But on the right is now what they're asking. But we've broken this down into these phases for now. And these phases are looking at the Wika App business. You see, there's a difference between the Wika App and the Wika App business. The Wika App is the system, the tech system. But the Wika App business is the business that is done around the tech system, which has all this social impact. Okay, so this is looking at this. This whole thing is looking at the Wika App business. So market potential research is the first thing we do in the first 4 weeks. I'll tell you exactly what this comprises. Then what we do next is social impact evaluation, which is taking 6 weeks. Again, I'll explain that. So these are activities, both done at community level with stakeholders on the ground, as well as development on the system itself and design as well. Then there's this one, which is feasibility data collection. That's based on the research, but it's all about testing. When you get into feasibility, I'll explain more on this just now. And then comes financial viability assessment, and then comes pre-deployment preparation. When I say pre-deployment preparation, which is 2 weeks in June, this one is preparing us for round 2. That's really what I'm saying. Because round 2 is about deployment. So the pre-deployment preparation is really preparing for that round 2. In other words, we have to get all our ideas together, all our metrics together, all our reports together, even our pitch itself, our pitch deck, and what we're going to say in round 2. That's what this is. Okay. So we want to now look at the breakdown of the expenses like this. These are 5, you can say, departments of Chungunzima Designs if it has only one product, which is the Wika App business. There are 5 departments. The first department, the order doesn't matter, but I've just put it as the app design and development. The second department is the research and data collection department. This is a research department. The third department is the community outreach awareness department. The fourth is the partnership and support services department. And then the fifth one is the business case development department. Okay. Now, if this were not, like now it's social impact, but if it was not that, if it was for profit, then the app design and development remains the same, and the research also would remain the same. However, the community outreach awareness, this will be the marketing department. And this one on number 4, on the partnerships and support services, that one would be really the sales department. And then the business care or business case development, this one would be the business development department. This one, what it does is it works with customer care and research to build new business opportunities. All right, so these are the 5 departments that we have. Now, what I've left out here is things like administration department or finance department or legal department. These are all the important activities. But see, at this stage of early, let's just talk of angel investment. We will have to internalize those functions within each one of these departments. So every department here has an administrative function, a finance function, a legal function, and you can say an HR function, because we have to build a team. Building a team means we have to get at least 3 more people who we can go and present to the second round as being part of Chunganzima. Chunganzima should have 5 to 7 people. The investors like it when we're fewer, like when we're 4. But if we can make the case for being 7, they'll not complain. But they like it when we're few. They don't want to see many people. So I put here like we can get 3 more people, but you see, I can handle number 1, for example. You can handle number, let's say 3, for example, and then number 2, 4, and 5 we can get people. But we have to have clarity of what they'll do, how we'll pay them, everything. Okay, so that they're part of the team. All right, so this is how the tranches go. So the first tranche, which comes, will be $6,600. The second tranche will be $8,800. The third tranche will be $6,600. And this is the distribution of the money so that we know how it's going. I'll explain that in detail, but it's part of this document, so you can see how it is. And then, of course, the total is on the right, the far right. Okay. So that gives you a sense. But were you going to say something, Jackie?
I think maybe I'll let you present more and then we see if I'll get the answer.
Okay.
From,
Now, one of the things to remember.
because you said you'll explain in detail.
Yeah, I'm going to go into details now. You see, one of the reasons why it's important to register as a social enterprise is this VAT component. This KRA will now want you to pay 16% VAT on all money that you get if you're for profit. See, but with social enterprise, then it's different. This one we can always explain is donor money, but now KRA will be watching for their VAT. But if we're a social enterprise, we can get waivers on VAT because we're not selling products. I mean, we're not a shop. So there are those tax waivers we get. That's the tax flexibility that investors like. Okay. I've done this in Kenya shillings here, by the way. So the total amount that's coming in Kenya shillings is 2,847,020 shillings. That's what we get in Kenya shillings. And the breakdown for tranche one is 854,106 shillings. So this is now what's coming in tranche one. Okay. All right. I'll move to the next. This one, the value proposition. Now, there are three things. Now I'm getting into the weeds, the detail. Feel free, you can always interrupt. There's no worries. The three things that the round two investors want us to have solved, because they will impose on us another three things. So this angel investment is trying to solve three things. One is the value proposition. And this is a question that you have to answer fluently when asked anytime by the funders or anyone we're dealing with. What is the value that we bring? So the first one is for survivors. I've categorized them according to the target audience. The second one is for society, the community. And then the third one is for investors. Because actually, what we're doing now is targeting number three, the investors. Okay, but the primary service is to the survivors. So the value proposition to the survivors, as we know, is safe anonymous reporting and evidence submission. That's number one. Number two is this one, access to critical support services. Of course, when someone's a victim, there are critical support services in wellness and legal services and finance that they may need. So these are the two. If you have others, we can add. For society, greater awareness of the need to report and address abuse. Okay, so this is a benefit to society. And then, of course, the insights for NGOs and policymakers to tackle root causes effectively. So we are proposing or presupposing that NGOs and government and all these organizations are not effectively tackling the problem of domestic violence and abuse. So, of course, we'll have to make the case evidence-based and driven to show them that they're not doing it, and this is how they can improve. See? So this is one of the value propositions. And then for investors is the contribution of systemic social change and measurable impact. Normally, social impact investors are philanthropic and they just want to see that they're having a transformative effect on society that is positive. So that's what number one is really talking about. This contribution of systemic social change is the transformation, and then this measurable impact is the evidence to support what we're saying. They like that when it's evidence based because they're not here, they don't know what we're saying, whether it's true or false. But if we have evidence, it's great. And then the opportunity to align with corporate social responsibility, okay, and this ESG, environmental social governance priorities. That's where the SDGs come in. What I like about this second one, the corporate social responsibility is nice, but it's not really necessary in this country because of many reasons. But we don't have to get into that. But this one of environmental social governance, this is more relevant to us because it looks at a much more holistic way of doing what we're doing. We're looking at the environment. We're looking at the effect what is having on society, on people's lives, livelihoods. We're looking at that, and then we're looking at corruption. We're looking at misuse of public office or just corruption even in the household. So these three, to me, seem more relevant to our condition as Africans than corporate social responsibility, which is another story. Okay, so these are the two things for the investors. Now, operational plan, key activities. One is to develop a user-friendly and secure app. Of course, I mean it has to be easy to use, right? And then of course, it has to be secure in the sense of data, so that we can meet our goal of making sure it's anonymous and safe. The second key activity is partnership. So partnerships with legal and psychological support organizations. Okay, I've just generalized it this way, but here we're talking about partnerships with organizations like you could say the Law Society of Kenya, for example. Of course, government agencies, we'll have to pick them out. And then you have all these international bodies that would fit into what we're doing. It's partnerships with those kind of people. And then also on the ground, partnerships with institutions like hospitals. We need to educate people, so we have to identify where the education can be helpful. We might have to get into, churches or mosques. I don't know, but we need to think of where we can provide this psychological support. Much of it is educational, and then community outreach for education and awareness campaigns. Okay, the education is here, but awareness campaigns are important because of our objectives. We need to be able to have a means by which the society is becoming informed of Wika and what is good that Wika brings to them. All right. So those are the awareness campaigns. It's almost like advertising, but it's not traditional advertising. It's almost like door-to-door sales or door-to-door promotions, where we are going to the ground and we're showing them that you can use this, and we create a sense of awareness. Whether they're using it or not, they are aware. And then comes the deliverable. So here is your question answered. So by 31st of January, we're going to have drawings and prototypes. That's from the development perspective. Whatever we produce is going to have a narrative that is supported by this key activity on partnerships and legal and psychological support organizations, and this key activity on community outreach for education and awareness campaigns. So the app, let's say functionality, will be mapped to the activities we have started doing on these two. All right, and that's what we're presenting here. This answers your question on what are we going to give them. These are prototypes. They're going to have two prototypes, and they're going to have a set of drawings. But we're also going to have a report, and the report is going to be supported by information from partnerships with legal and psychological support organizations, as well as community outreach for education and awareness campaigns. It's going to be part of the report, and they will get a sense of what we're doing based on that report. And the demo that we will give them is the app. There'll be two apps, which will show the proof of concept and the visual appearance of the app. They'll get to see how it works. All right, so that comes by 31st of January. Okay, so that answers the question on the email. Had you wanted to talk on that one?
Okay, so now the way you're explaining the business plan,
Yeah.
I'm also processing, so I might not have the questions now. So just keep presenting.
Okay.
And then process, because now I'm thinking of how I'm going to share that with them.
Yeah.
This part.
Yeah.
If there are details, like even you're going to talk about the financial plan.
Exactly.
So just Nini, because I'm not even going to send it today. So whatever I'll have ready to send, I'll send it to you first. Then you go through it. Then yeah. But now I'm just processing, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'd say okay, because I'm seeing it's 24 pages.
Yeah.
Would you please kindly present faster, because I have to leave at 1 or before there.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's very okay. I can jump part because it's details that we're getting now.
No, don't jump anything.
No, I
Don't jump anything. If anything, when I come back, we can still continue with the meeting. That's no issue. I don't have
I understand.
an issue with that. So wherever we'll have reached, we'll just pick up on it.
Okay. What I mean by jumping though is that I will show you the blocks of things you can read, which we don't have to go through here right now. But what I'm going through, which is essential for understanding this document, is now I'm going through slowly. But it'll come to that point and you will see. But it only has 10 chapters. So this is number 7. Then there are only 3 more, and those are the ones that are important. Okay, so here we have after the second tranche going to be mapped onto this one. This should be showing no. The first one, I think there's a correction on this. I've just realized that this should be November. Drawings and prototypes will be ready by that time. Oh no, this is correct. January. This one should be ready by March. And this one should be ready by June. The end of the project. I don't know exactly when the project ends. We put here June 15. Yeah. So that's really how the flow is going. So this pilot testing here is going to come with a report and a financial plan. And now we'll have, when I say pilot testing, it means we've gone to real users, and now we have real data to support any assumptions we're making. So we have an app, and using both data analytics and you could say research data collected, we are able to write, a report that is based on the facts, based on the evidence, and also project a financial plan which is relevant to round 2. This financial plan is really about round 2 and trying to speak to the issues of round 2, which I'll discuss with you as we go, but I'll get into some detail on that just now. And then here we have the full operational app. The full operational app is a prototype. In fact, it's misleading when I write it that way. I should say the full operational app prototype. What this is not, it's not a product, it's a prototype. A prototype is faking it before you make it. That's what a prototype is. But it looks like it's working. It looks like the full thing. It's a fully operational app prototype. It's like saying a fully operational app fake. You see, it's not the real thing. We still have to make the real thing. And we'll make the real thing with the seed money that comes. All right? In some ways, I think, fake might be a dramatic term, but a way of looking at a prototype is like a toy. It has very limited scope. So it can't be used as the professional gadget. It's just a toy, but it gives us a means by which we can demonstrate how the final product will look. So that's what we're making, the prototype. Okay, then we come now to the marketing and outreach. So this is important when it comes to roles, and that's why I'm going to go through it with you just now. But what it means is that there is a function of marketing and outreach that needs to happen. It's a shared function. You have a role there, and I have a role there. So one is awareness campaigns, collaboration with advocacy groups promotes the app. So we have to identify these advocacy groups that we want to work with, and then we have to have a plan on how we're going to reach out to them so that we align our interest with their interest and we're together. We also have an educational objective. So we're saying educational programs on reporting abuse and accessing support. We need to build these programs. These programs are structured. They're systematic ways in which we're going to report abuse and access support. You see, now there's an app technology that will support something that's going on the ground. That something that is going on the ground is the program. And what we're saying is it has an educational component, but it also has an actionable component. So engagement channels. How are we going to engage? We're going to engage community forums and workshops. We'll engage through these. Community forums can be online. They can also be face-to-face. Workshops will have to be face-to-face, I think. And then comes this one for social media campaigns. emphasizing security and confidentiality. All right, so we would have to build that campaign. So these are things we have to produce. A social media campaign, we have to plan community forums, and we also have to plan community workshops. We have to build educational programs, and we have to build, or let's say, a list or identify a target list of advocacy groups to promote the app. Okay, so these are things we need to build. It's part of marketing and outreach. Then we have this one, potential challenges and solutions and the risks. Now, this donors really need to see this because they want to know what is the downside. So social risks are lack of trust in the technology. So this is one thing we have to overcome because it's troublesome. Then the stigma associated with reporting abuse is a big one. So these are two. There might be more. Solutions are things we discussed. You told me about this. So transparent communication with data security and anonymity. So we have to really have a way of showing people that it's completely secure, encrypted, the data is safe, and you're anonymous. Nobody knows you. And then this one on strong advocacy and educational efforts. We need to be strong on that. It's a solution to deal with stigmatization. This is very hard to achieve. This one, it's hard because you're trying to change the culture of people or behavior of people. So this is where the rubber hits the road. That one. Then we have this one, operational risks. We have delays of app development. This can happen, and limited adoption due to insufficient outreach. Okay, so this is what I mean that the prototype is not scalable. That's one thing about a prototype. So when we scale it, we're not scaling it naturally. We're scaling it through our means. If we can go somewhere, then it scales to that place. If we can't go to somewhere, it may not get there. So this will have limited adoption. But round two will address that. This one here on delayed app development, this is a logistical thing. All apps delay. Like now, we're supposed to have started November 30th, but we have not. Now it's coming to December 30th. So you see, that's already a 30-day delay. That's going to happen. It'll have a knock-on effect on the whole thing. So that's operational risk. Then we have this one of solution, clear timelines, which is now why I produced this document, just to be clear on the timeline. The role assignments. I also produced this document so that we have clarity on our roles and the active stakeholder engagement. Yeah, we need to get stakeholders that are going to believe in the app and be active. If we don't, if we get those ones who just want to joyride, we'll be carrying baggage. Okay, so now comes this part. This is the part. So this document was leading up to this, which is important. Organizational structure, roles, services, and solutions. So I'm very keen because our roles are here, they're inside here. So when you're reading this, this is the part which goes into the real details, and I'll expound more on what I was not explaining earlier. But I need us, we're only two. There's you here. I'm putting you as the CSIO, which means down here, the Chief Social Impact Officer, and myself as the CTO. So I'm the Chief Technology Officer there. But I've added you another function here. I've given you this function of Managing Director. So you're concerned with all the general management issues, as well as finance and, well, let's just say general management. So we can look at human resource, you can look at administration, things like those. Whereas I'll be concerned with the technology development and implementation as CTO, Chief Technical Officer. And I put an extra function here of business developer. So I'm concerned now with the financials and things to do with the business development. Business development feeds into sales and marketing. Okay, so those are that's the division of the labor. But I'm trying to write it down here. So yours is your responsibilities, outreach initiatives, all that stuff I was talking about, where you have to map out the stakeholders, you have to build programs, you have to design workshops, some are educational, others are research oriented, but your focus will be on creating these workshops to make contact with um, our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are all those people in the value chain from the app, that's us, to the end user. Everyone who comes in between, including the end user. Those are our stakeholders. And then managing the programs, you need to plan them, document them, and then execute them so that we get what we want out of them. Some of the things we want to get out is training. Other things we want to get out is data. Other things we want to get out of the workshop is awareness, like, things like those. But we have to work it out exactly. And then evaluating the social impact. So this we can do together, but we have to look at the activities that we're doing in the outreach programs and estimate or calculate what is the social impact. It's very important for round two. We have to be able to speak to that. That's a research exercise, so I'll assist on that one. And then comes now on my side, the roles is overseeing the AI systems. This is all the technology, managing the business development. That now is the business side, you can say, of the technology. So when we talk about the Wika App business, this is the business side of it, marketing and sales. But I'll discuss more on that, but that's what that is. And then aligning technological solutions with organizational goals, right? That alignment, of course, it's being done from the start. Okay, so I'll just change the view slightly to the next. So I've tried to create this organizational chart. You'll go through it and then we can discuss it next time, but I just will tell you what it is. It's generally that around the app, you see, the app has is this circular thing. I'm calling it the Wika app organizationally. It's our anagram or nanogram. You see, it has the end user in the middle, and then right here around the middle, I put here the first responder service. That will be the victim advocate. We have to define that person. And then around that will be now second tier service provider, maybe legal advocate. There can be others. They can be therapists, for example, healthcare. And then the next layer, this one, I've called the third tier service provider, but that I put as medical healthcare. Yeah. And then the outer one here is fourth tier, which is more of social services manager. The kind of people who will help you to prevent a reoccurrence of what has happened, and they help to make you safer and things like that. We have to define these. So who are the first responders, second responders, third responders, and fourth responders? So that is why I put this circle. That's the Wika app. So the app is essentially this. Now, the business is around the app. So if I zoom out slightly, the business is everything around the app. Again, you can read this, but on the left side is the technology department. On the right side is the social impact department. So on your side is this. You've got anonymous reporting awareness campaigns, gender-based violence advocacy partnerships. You've got this policy reform dialogues, using anonymized data. And then you've got data-driven donor engagement initiatives, community-led youth education programs. I'm not sure if we should have youth, but it's there. And then digital advocacy and resource platform expansion. So this is the point where what you're doing merges with the AI-based diagnostic assistance. So the AI is assisting you with digital advocacy and resource platform expansion. Let me call this app expansion. Right on the left side is all the tech stuff. This is what's going on the app itself, like predictive maintenance monitoring. That predictive thing is the AI. Then you have AI-driven processes and optimization. Okay. Then you have AI-enhanced calibration services, and then you have AI-powered data platform. Yeah. So all these are just the things that we'll implement on the technical side. So that gives you a sense of the app and its integration with the business itself. So there's a tech team on the left and a social impact team on the right. There's a central management team in the middle, right here. I'll put you here in the middle. This is actually you. Then I'm here. We need someone on the social impact side, actually. Here, we do. And then, of course, there's a whole team we have to build. When we go for the second round, we'll be talking to our teams so that they can see clearly we're not a one-man show. Okay? All right, now we're getting into the weeds. So this is the 10th chapter is the last one. So the Wika technological services, which I was reading, are all explained here. This is the homework, the part I said I'll just go over. I won't read it. I'm just giving it to you here. So you can read about the tech services. I've expounded. I've tried to explain them generally, but the details are here. And then this is what your part, which is the social impact solutions or the social impact department. This is what they're trying to achieve, and I've written it out here. Okay, so it's all summarized actually, it's not detailed, but I've read them out. This is the explanation. You can go through that. And then there are 7, so you can go through that. And that's the end. Oh no, sorry, there's a part here, roles and responsibilities. Very important. So this one, again, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but you should go through it. I've kept this into 2 departments. So week 1 to 4, this is what the social impact department is doing. This is what the technology department is doing. Okay, that's for week 1 to 4. That's the first month. Week 5 to 8 is like the second month. This is what the social impact department is doing, and this is what the technology department is doing. So that's what this is showing us. Okay, so we have to be. This is what we need to discuss. These are the weeds. This is the detail that we now need to discuss more specifically. But this is what I want to give you as homework. If you go through them, what you're doing week by week, whatever is not clear, we can clarify. This all can be rewritten again. I mean, it's just a first iteration of this document. So what we're doing exactly, we'll be reworking as we go. It's a flexible document. But I've given them titles. So let's just look at the titles. So week 1 is about, let's say month 1, the first 4 weeks, is about planning the framework development. So what I'm saying is that from a social outreach and social impact perspective, there's a framework that you have to come up with. That framework is going to design who are your stakeholders, who are you targeting, and then it's also going to define where you're getting the money from in terms of donors, grant money, government money, and it's coming from the social impact community. So that framework defines who it is that we're going after. It also defines what are we doing. For example, in social impact work, it's the workshops, it's the educational programs that we're running. Okay, the workshops have 3 things they do, but the educational programs are very much about awareness. All right. Now, the same thing applies to technology. That I have a plan for technology and the framework for its development. So it involves architectural drawings, building the app, and testing the app. So the testing is more in the line of research, but it's usability research, whereas the building of it is the actual coding, and then or programming, and then comes the planning part, which is the architectural drawings. Yeah, it's always like that, but it has different levels. So here we have level 2 from week 5 to 8, where we look at the foundation and strategic alignment. So these are the bullet points for building the foundation. Essentially, once you have a framework, you have to implement it. So this is the beginning of, when we say foundation, we mean the start of implementing your framework. All right. Then we have now the program and technology execution. So once you've implemented the framework, like let's say you've already implemented, you've documented your workshop, for example, and you've implemented it in the way of knowing who are your suppliers, who are your stakeholders, who are your target audiences. All those people have been communicated to. You've interviewed them. You're ready. You've done all the preliminary work. The execution is the actual workshop. So that's what's going on here. There's also a technology component to that. So I've written it down here. And then comes the implementation. This is week 13 to 16. The implementation and initial scaling. Okay, scaling is not a good word because really the prototype doesn't scale, but we should speak to scaling. So what I'm saying is, when we go to round 2, we have to be able to talk to the round 2 investors about scaling. So when we're implementing now, we need to get information about that. That's data and evidence. So when we talk of scaling, we can show them this one has shown this way, has shown it can scale X amount. But once you invest, it will scale, even more, maybe 100 times more, maybe 1,000 times more. That's the kind of information we need. And we need it from the programs and from the app itself. And they should be well aligned by this stage so that the scaling makes sense. And then by week 17 to 20, optimization and broader outreach. Okay, optimization is fine tuning, because what happens when we start doing things on the ground, we get feedback, and the feedback may not be what we expected. That's what optimization is about. It's about refining the app and refining the business process. The business processes are coming out of the programs and the educational awareness campaigns. We fine tune them so that now we correct any anomalies and thoughts we may have had. And there might be legal issues and other things we have to deal with. And then now we consolidate everything. Consolidation and strategic planning. This is really a nice way of saying we now prepare our pitch deck for round 2. Consolidation and strategic planning. So the strategic plan is the report we're going to present in round 2. But we need to have a deck that is speaking to social impact investors, the ones now who are going to give us the seed capital to scale and create the product. This is the prototype, but we need the money now for the product. Okay, so that's the last. It's just like I put it as 3 weeks, could even be 2 weeks. I'm not sure when the end date is, but we can leave it like that for now too, Okay, then the rest is appendices. So these appendices, just now, this is the part I'm not going to go through, but it shows you all the breakdown of the money, where it goes in detail like this. You see? So you can go through this very tightly. I'll put everything so that it's transparent. And then this summary table, this one, summarizes everything. App development requires in total this money. Outreach data requires this money. Community outreach awareness requires this money. And then this one, partnerships and support services requires that. Business case development requires that. And then contingencies. This is just contingencies in case anything goes wrong. It's very little because we're not really out there. So the contingency is low. It's less than 1%. You can see it's very low. Okay, so this gives you a sense of the summary, but it's that table above is the details. What's left I need to do is this timetable, this one, a detailed project timeline. So all those activities, I'll put them on a timeline. That one, when we meet next, I'll show you. We may not be able to meet on Thursday, maybe on Friday we can meet because of the Christmas, but if we can agree, I'll present this one, a detailed project timeline. Okay, and then of course, profiles of the team and advisory teams. Let's think about it. Because if money comes, are you going to get someone to help you? That's what you have to think about. And that person should fit into the kind of person we need, who can grow into our team member. Should be there to the end. You see, if we're going to get someone. We've discussed at length accounts. We've discussed at length finance. We've discussed a little bit about administrative work that's involved. You see, those things we can internalize. We don't have to get people to manage those, but we get the core people who will help us. Like if you're going to run outreach programs, you're going to talk to, let's say, grant providers or stakeholders like donors. We have to have people who can do that, you see, in realistic ways, even provide ideas on how that can be done. Okay, so if you're going to grow your team, we have to know early because of the funding and how we're going to budget the money based on this table that I have here, which shows how much money is allocated for each department. You see. Okay, Jackie. So that's the end. That's the end. I hope it's not been too long. These testimonials, we'll have them by the time we're done. When you're doing awareness, just know we will be taking some videos of people just so that we can use their testimonials, especially if they're willing. They have to be willing for the purpose of securing more funding. It's good to be aware of that in the beginning. Okay, so that's the end of it. It's not I think complicated documents in such. It's just the way we have to do it in order to get more funding.
So what I'll do is try and go over everything by today.
Okay.
And then I'll give you my view or response or feedback or anything, and also if I have more questions.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're presenting on Thursday, then
Friday.
I think I'll be on. Friday.
Mm.
I think I'll be on the board. Let me see when is Friday. 20?
Today is 24th.
27th.
Okay.
Yeah, 27th. I think I'll be on the move.
You'll be traveling from Kisumu.
Yeah, we'll be going to South Nyanza. I don't know if where we are going has network. That's the problem.
Okay. No, we can change.
Yeah, but if I'm able to get in touch, I'll tell you.
Okay.
And then we can have the meeting so that you present. But today I'll do my best to go through this whole document and internalize. It takes me a while to internalize things. So, but I think what is on my mind right now is say January we are developing the app so that we can collect data, or we are collecting data.
No, we'll start developing the app because we already have enough to develop the app, at least for the first prototype. So we'll start, and then by mid-January or some point, I'll put it on the schedule. Let's say by January 20th, for example, we're going to now start running the first, you can say, focus group tests. There'll be focus group tests, but these focus group tests with the app are not just random. They're aligned to the framework that we're going to build around the other areas, like the community outreach and, you can say, stakeholder involvement. Because the focus group is choosing selected people to come to try out the app. Those selected people are our focus, our target audience. And those are the ones that will give us the feedback that we require. See, so end users are just one. Those are the victim survivors, for example. But we also need the other layers in that focus group so that we start gathering that data for further development. It's very powerful, and that will help us in the second round once we start gathering this information. But that happens in around 21st of January or something. The app will be there.
Okay. So, okay. I guess the other one I'll ask later because I also want to be involved, like even just to see how the app, the beginning stages of the app, the brainstorming.
Yeah. So when I meet you next, we'll go through the timetable, and then I'll show you, because we meet every Thursday, for example. Yeah, I'll be showing you what I'm doing. So, and even what I will do before I do it, so that you can have an input, and we go together every Thursday. So all that we will be doing it on Thursdays, and also you can tell me what you're doing, and we can go like that. The idea is to marry the two.
Okay. Okay. And then we can just meet even on that Thursday. But I'll confirm in the evening.
Okay.
Let me confirm in the evening. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So.
Oh.
Okay then. So I can say bye. But thanks for coming.